Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. It is a beautiful, very chilly November morning here in North Carolina. We had our first hard freeze last night. We basically went from 84 degrees down to 26 in a matter of like 72 hours. We skipped the whole frost process and we just went to a hard freeze. So today we are out in the garden and we are doing some cleanup. My fantastic staff is cleaning out annuals that got completely burned by the freeze last night. So the begonias, coleus, that kind of thing. They're ripping those out to the entrance to the nursery. I am over here on the house side of the privacy berm, and we are going to walk through and I am going to show you how to clean up some of your perennials. What do you cut back and what do you leave until early spring and then trim it? Because it can be a little bit confusing about what do I trim, what do I leave, what do I do? So hopefully I'm going to take some of the guesswork and the mystery and the fear out of pruning and maintaining your perennials, because of course we love perennials, right? A perennial, I think by definition, is a plant that will come back 2 or more years. So perennials are, a lot of times we think about them like you kind of plant them once and then you can kind of forget about them. You're not going to be replanting them year after year like you do annuals. While they are generally a lot more low maintenance than annuals, that does not mean they are maintenance free. There are still things that you have to do to your perennials, just maybe not as much as annuals. Some annuals can be some divas and they can require lots of attention in the garden. General rule, perennials are not divas, but they are very high performers. So the area that we're going to work on really is we're just going to focus on this top corner of the berm. If you will remember, like this past summer, we had this whole area was filled in with petunias. Jerry and I are going to rework the boxwood placement, so we'll do that at a different time. We're not doing that today. You might be able to see that the hibiscus, they got a little toasty, so it'll just be a matter of time before they completely die back. But this area up here at the top of the berm, like I said, on the house side, is filled with just an assortment of lovely, lovely perennials. Some of them are not affected at all by the freeze last night. So for example, we've got Boom Chocolata right here. We've got 3 plants, beautiful, generally a low grower, so you can see that we've got some low foliage, but Boom Chocolata does bloom, send its blooms up high. We've actually got some fresh little flowers right there, again, not affected by the 26-degree night. We've got phlox, paniculata phlox, that desperately needs to be trimmed back. We have got some gorgeous Russian sage. We're going to talk about that. We have sedums, some beautiful kind of the low growing sedums. So we have the low growing right here, and then we've got some of the rock and grow midnight velvets in the back that are looking rough. They were on the struggle bus this year for sure. We've got heliopsis. This is the Tuscan Gold or Tuscan Sun. I'll have to go back and look at oh, there it is, good. This is why I put labels, y'all. Tuscan Gold. So I've got my little plant label right here. Tuscan Gold heliopsis, we're going to address that. Beautiful Niagara Falls grass. I adore this grass. It is just a beautiful, beautiful, nice upright columnar grass. We've got that, and then we have an early phlox right here. This is the opening act series. We also have hydrangeas in here and the stellar ruby magnolia. So basically what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of set the camera up and I'm going to go type of plant by type of plant. So I'll do like all of the paniculata phlox first, and then I'll do the Russian sage. So we're going to go through and just talk about each one, what you do or what you don't do to them at this time. Of course, if you see weeds, pull them, right? So the weeds abound. I think as gardeners, we have no problem growing weeds in our garden. Maybe not exactly what we want to grow, but here they come. So if you see a weed, go ahead and pull it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to hit plant by plant and just go through and talk about each one. Now, you saw me when I opened up, let's come back over here. When I opened up the video, you know what I was doing? I was replacing and maintaining my Phelcos. So I was maintaining my Phelcos by replacing the blade. Yes, I went ahead and bit the bullet and just went ahead and replaced that blade, because a couple of weeks ago, oh gosh, maybe it was a month or so ago now, I showed you how to clean your Phelcos, how to sharpen the blades, the whole 9 yards. And it was wonderful and it was great. But however, that was the original blade on my Phelcos, and I've had them year and a half, 2 years, and I haven't always been very kind to them. So my blade was a little bit beyond repair. So I just went ahead and replaced it. Super, super easy to do. Like, it took me less than 5 minutes to do it. So if you have some Phelcos and you got a little rough on them, or they're just not as sharp as they used to be, it is very easy to replace the blades on that, because everything on a Phelco is actually replaceable. So let me show you, let me flip this around. Everything on your Phelcos are replaceable, and it very, very, as far as the cost goes, is very inexpensive. So look at that beautiful blade. Got it all nice and greased up, of course, with the water repellent grease and the lube and all the things. We'll go through and talk about it, but that 905 tool is great because it just went ahead and loosened up my bolts, got that replaced, and then when you buy the replacement blade, it automatically comes with the spring as well. So if you need to do a little bit of maintenance on your Phelcos, we do have all of that on the website. Like I said, it took me less than 5 minutes to replace that blade. It is going to feel like brand new pruners when I go in here and start pruning. So it's the little things for us gardeners, right? Like new sharpened, either a new blade or a freshly sharpened blade. You're just like, oh, this is great. So yeah, so all of that we have on the website. I would highly, if you're going to invest the money of a Phelco pruners, then go ahead and just get all the different cleaning supplies, the sharpening tools, and they literally will last you for years, because even though those tubes are small, you use very little of it, and it is great. So at the end, when we're done, I'm going to show you how I clean them to put them up until I use them next time, because that little bit of maintenance will save my blade and save my Phelcos for years and years to come. So without further ado, let's address some perennials. All right, my friends, so first things first. When you are, let's go over some basic tools that you might want to have when you're out working in your garden. And this is, of course, all personal preference. Clearly, I am a glove girl. Like, you have seen me for years garden with gloves. It's because I have had so many cuts and infections on my hands that I like wearing gloves. I like being protected. So these are actually the Phelco gloves, size medium. I could have worn the small, but they were a little too tight. So I like these as well. I'll go through various different kinds of gloves, but Phelco medium is what I'm wearing today. You need like some sort of container to put your debris in. These are the little canvas pop-up containers. Got them from Gardener Supply. We use these everywhere, both at the house and the nursery. These are wonderful. They will collapse all the way down. They have a hard bottom so you can slide them. They have holes in the bottom, so in case you may or may not leave it out in the out in the elements, sometimes you can easily go ahead and water will drain out of it. You're going to want, of course, some great Phelco clippers, pruners. It's the best. I love a hori hori, so this is the Japanese hori hori. Phelco also makes a Swiss hori hori. It's not quite as pointed on the end. They both work great. They both fit my tool belt. There you go. And then I like a kneeling pad, a nice thick kneeling pad. It just kind of saves my knees when I am in here, you know, on the ground, whether it's on rocks or it's on gravel or pine cones, all of those good things. All right, so first, Boom Chocolata. This Boom Chocolata is absolutely stunning. It is gorgeous. If you have stems that are already dried up, crusty, burnt, whatever, just take your pruners and then just trim them back. I am not going to do anything to this plant right now. It is gorgeous, it is healthy, it is happy, so we are leaving the Boom Chocolata alone. I have other perennial geraniums like Roseanne. Roseanne is a very, very famous perennial geranium, it will actually die back completely down to the ground in a cold, hard freeze for me. And at that point, I just cut it to the ground. This is a warm area. We'll see what Boom Chocolata does. But yeah, so I'm just gonna leave it. If the freeze ever does get it and just really kills it, then you can just cut it straight to the ground. Easy as that. Now, this is what's been driving me crazy. This is what has brought me to this bed. This luminary phlox. Now, this is ultraviolet, and I love ultraviolet phlox. However, right now, I don't love it because it looks rough in the garden, so we're gonna prune that. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can see exactly what we're gonna do. This is not gonna be hard, y'all. This is gonna be super easy. So I've got my luminary phlox. Again, like I said, this is ultraviolet. You can see that some of them are actually still have some buds on it, but I am just gonna go ahead and trim them back. You can give this sucker a hard prune. We're basically gonna go down to the ground level, and we're gonna take these wonderfully sharp felcos, and we are going to cut it roughly to the ground. I'm probably leaving maybe 2 inches of a stalk right there, but anything that has leaves, it's got foliage on it, I am taking it back. I could have probably actually done this earlier in the season because it's been looking a little rough for quite a while now. And down in here, there's all sorts of new growth down here at the base of the plant. So I am not hurting it. I am actually helping the plant, right, and getting it all cleaned up. It did have some powdery mildew on the leaves. When your plants are under stress, then they're susceptible to issues. I have found that this luminary phlox, this paniculata phlox, it has a panicle bloom on it, that if it does like consistent water. So if it gets hot and it gets dried out, it is definitely going to be more susceptible to powdery mildew. You can spray that for powdery mildew if you want, or I did an experiment last year, and this was late spring, early summer. And what I did is I just went ahead and did exactly what I'm doing right now. I cut it completely down to the ground. Within 2 weeks, it had completely flushed back out, and I had beautiful, healthy growth on it with no powdery mildew. And then it came up and it bloomed, and it was gorgeous. So that might be something that if you deal with powdery mildew and your plants have gone through a lot of stress, it could be lack of water. We think powdery mildew means too much water. In this case, it was not enough. We do have irrigation in here, but this spot does stay really, really hot, and obviously I just wasn't giving it enough water. Shear it back down to the ground and you will be fine. So what I'm gonna do is I've got a bunch of that panicle phlox right through here. So I'm just gonna go through and get them all trimmed back, and then we're gonna talk about Russian sage. All of the paniculata, the luminary ultraviolet phlox, has been pruned back to the ground, and man, already look what a difference it makes. You can see just nice and clear, and the stellar ruby magnolia is now shining and looking gorgeous. Wanted to kind of give you an up close picture so that hopefully you'll be able to see some of that growth that I was talking about. It's a little bit hard, but you can see hopefully down in there are some little bit of some green leaves in there, and so right in here. So everybody is nice and happy and healthy. Here's another one right here. It has a little bit more, the leaves are a little bit bigger on that as well. So you can really see how far I went ahead and trimmed that down. Everybody will be nice and happy and secure in this space as far as those luminary phloxes. Now, let's talk about what we're not gonna touch, right? So we're gonna go through, talk about those, and then we'll go back to the other ones that need a little bit of attention. All right, what are we just gonna leave alone? Keep your hands off of it and just don't touch, just admire. All right, well, of course, then the stellar ruby magnolia right here. This is a great small tree or a shrub. You can prune it up if you want to be more tree-like. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's also called a banana shrub. This does come from our friends at Southern Living Plant Collection. It is an evergreen. It is called a banana shrub because in early summer it will do starts out creamy white, turns to kind of a ruby, hence stellar ruby, and they open up and they smell like ripe bananas. She is very happy in this spot, has grown a ton. We are not touching her at all. Leave her alone. She'll be fine. Next will be our panicle hydrangeas. This is quick fire fab, and I have 3 of them in this space. Panicles. If the brown dried blooms drive you crazy and you don't like the look of that, then you can prune it. These hydrangeas are great because they bloom on new growth. So every single year you're guaranteed to get blooms. I leave mine alone until, for me, it's like mid-February. And then I will come through with all my panicle hydrangeas and I will trim it back by 1/3 to 1/4 of the total plant size. So you kind of get an idea, okay, how tall is that? At the tallest, it may be 3 feet. So I would come down at the most and take off 12 inches. So what I'm going to do is just give it a nice good shape overall, and then it will reflush and be absolutely stunning next summer and give me loads and loads of blooms. So for now, I am leaving it alone. I am not going to touch it. I will say also that these dried panicle flowers are great in your fall arrangements, Christmas decorations. So you can go out there and happily cut them and they will be fine. You're not going to hurt it if you do. There's just no need to right now. Next, my Russian sage. I am going to leave it completely alone. Now, this is going to be better if you don't prune it now. You want to prune it going into the heat of spring. So once you get past really the cold part of your winter, then you can prune your Russian sage. Russian sage loves it hot, it loves it dry, and they do have more hollow stems. So if you were to come in there and cut it back like I did the panicle, the luminary phlox, then you could lose it. It could rot. So just leave it, enjoy it. It's still got some flowers on it. Your pollinators will enjoy it. But come early spring, I will take it and I will cut it really far down. Maybe leave like 6 inches of stems at the absolute most, cut it flush to the ground, and it will come back with a vengeance and be gorgeous. So definitely leave your Russian sage alone for right now. And then last but certainly not least is our gorgeous Niagara Falls perennial grass. Again, I adore this plant. It is a great grass. It is not floppy. Look how nice and upright it is. Nice and tight, upright, beautiful plumes on it right now. The Niagara Falls will have a little bit more of a bluish hue to it, but just a beautiful display for your fall garden. The freeze eventually will turn it brown. At that point, I like to leave mine until, again, say that mid to end February mark, and then you cut it to the ground because it will flush out new growth. And when your perennial grasses are flushing out new growth, you want to go ahead and get rid of last year's foliage because it'll be brown. And if you wait until you start to see lots of green coming up, you inevitably can't cut out just the old growth. So you're going to cut new growth and it doesn't leave as clean as a plant. So you want to give it a good flat top before you have new growth appearing. And so for me, that's going to be mid to end of February. And so literally you take it back and you pull it up like a ponytail and then chop it off. So I will probably come anywhere from like that 6 to 8 inches tall, just shear it back all the way to the ground and it will flush out. But if you don't have this Niagara Falls grass, oh my gosh, you got to get it because it is absolutely stunning. So this is the deal with my sedums. I don't know what the problem is, y'all. I just seem to struggle with like the upright perennial sedums. And there is some growth on some of these. This one, bless its heart, just looks absolutely, completely, 100% dead. Sedums are supposed to be, like they're supposed to be in their prime right now. And yeah, this one's a goner. Remember, I did plant these, all these perennials went in the ground this spring and they were doing okay here. They weren't doing fabulous. So this is just definitely a type of plant that I struggle with. I don't know if it's my red clay soil There's very little irrigation right here because sedums like it dry. Maybe it was too dry. I did not fertilize them because sedums don't want to be fertilized. There is not compost here. There's mulch, but there's not like a ton of like compost. They don't benefit from that like other plants do. This one does have some green growth down in there. And so I'm just gonna leave that foliage and the older stems until, again, the kind of that late winter, early spring. But I dare say like this one, yeah, she's dead, she's a goner. So if you have perennial sedums, you're gonna wanna leave them. If they're alive, you're gonna want to leave them. And because this is that time where their seed heads are up from where their blooms were, and they've got the seed heads and they're beautiful. So if you have perennial sedums that are the taller variety or the shorter ones that are down front, those are doing great. It's just these up here, just, I don't know. If you got some tips for me on growing these taller varieties of sedums and you're in the South and you have a similar kind of growing conditions than I do, I would love to have your tips and comments on that. So leave those alone unless it's dead like mine. Now, all right, the heliopsis, Tuscan gold. So heliopsis it's in the sunflower family. Y'all, this plant was an absolute rock star all season long. Absolutely stunning, bright, cheery yellow flowers. So this whole area right here was just this sea of yellow flowers. Beautiful. What we're going to do is we're going to trim it back down to the ground again, just like my phlox. You're going to see that kind of that same mode of operation with your perennials. You're either going to leave them alone or you can cut them to the ground. Good girl. So Brynna knows that when we're sitting here and in the garden and she hears a car coming, that I want her to come to me. So she heard the car before I did. So she comes to me and hangs out with me because sometimes she can be, you know, not everybody enjoys a German Shepherd coming up at them and barking their heads off. I think it's actually the mail lady who is delivering our mail. So that's a good girl, BB. Good girl. You say hello to everybody? All right, you're free. Good girl. So yeah, so with your heliopsis, this Tuscan gold, it definitely got burnt by the freeze, so it's nice and crispy. While I'm here, we're just gonna head and trim it down. It is not gonna bloom, obviously, anymore this season, and hopefully it will come back with a vengeance next season because we adored this plant. Love this one. So they're just right here in this area, so I'm just gonna kind of cut them back, again, a couple inches from the ground, and then there you go. Last but not least is our opening act phlox. So the main difference between the opening act and the luminary phlox is that the opening act is going to be earlier. So basically you have creeping phlox, right, which is really, really early. Then you've got this guy that comes next, and then finally is the luminary series, which is a type of paniculata. Now, these actually look halfway decent, right? So they've got some flowers on them, they've got some pretty green growth, but they do have some old spent stems. I am just going to shape up the plant. If you wanted to leave it at this point, you absolutely could. But I am in the area, I am in this space, I'm cleaning them up. So what I'm gonna do is just shape them up. I've already gone ahead and done the rest. I am not going to prune them as severe as I did the other perennials. So I'm gonna leave, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches. I'm taking off a good, depends on the stem, anywhere from 8 to 10 inches, but I will still have a nice little green mound when I am done. And that way we are still leaving, you know, growth on the plant. We're not completely shearing it back, but at the same time, we are tidying up the plant and making it look a little neater and tidier, shall we say. So we're just coming in here. You can clearly see I am not being precise at all with my cuttings. I am just coming in and grabbing up handfuls and cutting them back. So that is what we're gonna do. This is a good size one right here. So you can see, right, just went in, cleaned it up. You can still see the green growth. It's all right there. But again, plant is just neater and tidier. Got one more to go, and then we'll take a look at the whole space to see kind of the before and the after. All right, my friends, today's project is all complete. This area is neat and tidy, and it makes me very, very happy to have this bed basically ready for winter. I'm not gonna have to really do anything else to this space other than just keep the water turned on, because yet again, we have not had any substantial rain for quite a long time. It is very dry in there. So we are running the irrigation still here in the early November, which is really just kind of unheard of. But nice and neat and tidy. You can really see that stellar ruby magnolia now just is a very beautiful, shiny, evergreen tree that will be there for many years to come. Of course, the hydrangeas, you still see that little bit of the green from the opening act phlox that is there, but everything, yeah, is nice and neat and tidy. I did go ahead and blow some of the leaves back down just straight across the driveway into the woods right there, because they were so thick from this maple that I couldn't see where the weeds were, and there were a good bit of weeds hiding, especially up a little bit closer to where the heliopsis is. So I just blew those out. We still have tons of leaves on these oak trees. Even this maple here has leaves on it. So just getting it kind of cleaned out so that I can see what is going on and what is happening here in the flower bed, so that I can take care of any kind of issues that need to be addressed. Last thing that we're going to do today is we're going to do a little prep on our Phylcos. So a little maintenance. That way they're nice and clean. They're ready to go the next time I use them. Jerry's actually here, so I think I'm gonna have him hold the camera while I can show you how easy this is. All right, so all I have are the two main products that I'm going to be using. So one is the Phylco 991. This is the resin remover. So anytime you're dealing with a plant that maybe has a little bit of sap on it, this is what we're going to use, because it basically just gets the sticky off of your Phylcos, right? I do have my paper towel if it doesn't blow away. So get this primed, because I don't know that I've used this yet. Nope, this one is brand new. There we go. All right, so very simple. You take those Phylcos, see all the grit and all the debris on there. Remember how nice and shiny that new blade was? Well, now it's got all sorts of good stuff on it. So we're just gonna give it a couple little spritzes. Basically, this is kind of, lack of a better word, this is the Jennyism, right? It's like soap. So it's a dissolvent soap that's gonna take off that residue, and look, just cleaning it right off. And look at the debris on Jerry's phone's ringing. He's a very popular man. People love to call and talk to him. So he's gonna be kind enough to turn that off for us for right now. So we're gonna get this cleaned off, and you can see how nice and clean these blades are. Got a little bit of gunk right here, a little elbow grease. And what I'm gonna do is come in next to make sure within the 980 spray. This is the one that is like a lubricant. It is more of a grease and oil. This is one I use a ton. This is going to make it waterproof. It is going to, of course, lubricate your joints, and just a couple of little sprays. It is a pump spray like that. And then I come in and I like to make sure that it gets down in there, makes them nice and waterproof, because if you garden in the South, you're going to deal with water, dealing with whether it's gardening in the rain. And then I just lightly come back so that I don't get a bunch of grease in my tool belt. And you can do a little bit of extra little elbow room right there, get that dirt off. But man, see, simple as that. So you've got gorgeous, nice, happy, you hear that? Yeah, nice and happy, greased up, protected Phylcos, goes back into my tool belt, and we are good to go. So it's very simple as doing, Jerry thinks he's getting attacked by a yellow jacket. He's not, he's good. It's a little scary though, 'tis the season. They're still flying around, even after a 25-degree night. They're still they're still a buzzing. All right, so taking care of your Felcos is super, super simple, but do it and you will be eternally grateful because it makes your job in the garden so much easier. So get out there. Even if you had a 25-degree night, I know some of y'all had snow. It just blows my mind. Bless your hearts. That's all I'm going to say. Bless your hearts. Come move down to the south. We don't deal with that. So unless your ground is covered in snow, get out there and do something, right? Just have fun. Just do a little something, something out in your garden. As always, we appreciate you. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for gardening with Creekside. See you in the next video. Bye, friends.